Imagine for a second being born while literally clinging to someone else's heel. That was Jacob. Before he even took his first breath of desert air, he was already reaching, pulling, and trying to get ahead. He wasn't just a twin, he was the second-place boy. In the eyes of the ancient world, being second meant you were invisible. The firstborn got the double portion, the biggest blessing, and the family crown. Jacob felt like a masterpiece painted on a canvas that was slightly too small. He felt like he was never enough. Afterward, his brother came out, and his hand held Esau's heel, so his name was called Jacob. Genesis 25:26. Jacob grew up in the shadow of Esau, a man's man, covered in hair, smelling of the wild outdoors and victory. His father, Isaac, loved the taste of Esau's wild game. Jacob, meanwhile, stayed by the tents. He was quiet, thoughtful, and incredibly hungry, not for food, but for belonging. One afternoon, Esau came stumbling in from the hunt, famished. Jacob was stirring a pot of red stew. This was his moment. Instead of giving his brother a bowl out of love, Jacob made a trade. He traded a temporary meal for a permanent destiny. The result? Jacob got the title, but his heart still felt empty. Have you ever gotten exactly what you wanted, but it didn't make you feel as happy as you thought it would? That was Jacob. He had the legal right, but he didn't have the peace. Years passed. Isaac was old and blind. It was time for the final blessing, the holy spark that would set the course for the rest of history. Jacob's mother, Rebekah, whispered a plan. Put on your brother's clothes. Put goat skins on your hands so you feel hairy like him. Can you see the cinematic tension? Jacob is standing before his blind father, wearing a costume, smelling like a forest he never hunted in. He was literally pretending to be someone else because he didn't believe Jacob was worth blessing. He came to his father and said, "My father." And he said, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?" Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn." Genesis 27:18-19. He got the blessing through a lie, but here is the secret the Holy Spirit reveals. You can't enjoy a blessing, you have to wear a mask to receive. Jacob ran away that night, a blessed man who was actually a lonely fugitive. Jacob was alone in the wilderness, using a cold stone for a pillow. He was at his lowest point. He had the birthright and the blessing, yet he was sleeping in the dirt. Suddenly, the sky split open. A glowing ladder appeared, touching the stars, with angels swirling up and down like a golden whirlwind. God didn't wait for Jacob to get his life together. God met him in his mess. "Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land." Genesis 28:15. For the first time, Jacob realized he didn't have to grab heels to get God's attention. God was already there. Fast forward 20 years, Jacob is returning home. He has wives, children, and thousands of sheep. He is successful by every human standard. But the night before he meets Esau, he's terrified. He realizes that all his tricks and all his money haven't fixed the not enough hole in his soul. In the dark, by the Jabbok River, a man appeared. This wasn't just any man, it was a heavenly visitor. Jacob didn't run. For the first time in his life, he didn't use a trick. He used his strength to hold on. They wrestled until the sun began to peek over the horizon. Jacob's hip was out of joint, he was exhausted, and he was limping. The stranger, "Let me go, for the day breaks." "Jacob, I will not let you go unless you bless me." Then comes the most important question in the whole story. The stranger asks, "What is your name?" Think back to when Jacob stood before his father, Isaac. When asked his name then, he lied and said, "I am Esau." But now, broken and tired of running, he finally tells the truth. And he said, "Jacob." Genesis 32:27. By saying his name, he was admitting, "I am the cheater. I am the one who isn't enough." Because Jacob finally accepted who he was, God could change who he was. Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and men and have prevailed. Genesis 32:28. Jacob stopped being the heel grabber and became the Prince of God. He realized he didn't need to be Esau. He didn't need to be a hunter. He just needed to be the man God called him to be. The story ends with a beautiful scene, Jacob limping in the sunrise, walking towards his brother. He wasn't hiding anymore. He wasn't wearing a disguise. He was finally, truly enough.